conversation for today. This is the time that we encourage you to step away from Netflix and go watch a real movie. All right. So, did that get you guys engaged
Yes.
there? All right.
Yes.
Good. So we're talking about the Traveling Caribbean Film Showcase, and this is something that is going to be happening in Belize for 2 weeks. Great opportunity, and we have Suzette Zayden, the director of the Film and Media Arts Unit, and Marketing and Communications Officer of NICH, Neil Hall, to tell us all about it. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, so this is going to start on March 14th. It was just today. Right? But tell me the origins of the Traveling Showcase.
Okay, the Traveling Caribbean Film Showcase began around 2006. This will be the 8th edition. What it is it was the brainchild of Rigoberto Lopez Pego. He's a Cuban filmmaker who unfortunately passed away this year. So this year the showcase will be, the opening film will be a tribute to him. It's one of his films called Forbidden Flights. But so he came up with this idea, and he approached the ministry, the ICAIC, the Film Institute in Cuba, about supporting the idea of approaching all the Caribbean countries to let's find a way to share films amongst ourselves, because Caribbean countries, we do make one film, but we do not have a distribution network that we actually see what each other's. We know there's some Trinidadian films, some Jamaican films, but who sees it? They take it out to New York, to London, to where the diaspora is, which is what I would do actually, trying to get people to see it. But they wouldn't send it to Belize. They wouldn't send it to Guyana or to different places like that, or even to Martinique, because then you would have language issues, because you have the Caribbean that speaks French, it speaks English, it speaks Spanish and Dutch. And so that has long been a barrier of sharing films amongst ourselves.
Even with subtitles, that beautiful thing of subtitles?
The thing is, before like 2000, you were working with film, like negative, and so that was very expensive. So the advent of video, of the cheaper cameras, and the subtitles, because there was an attempt in the 80s to do that, but it would have been very expensive to try and subtitle, to make prints in all these copies and send them around, and then you'd have to have the cinemas to show them in. So the advent of video is what made it possible. I mean, the electronic
digital age.
Digital. And so so that was one of the key parts of the showcase. That so they got all of us. We are the Belize Coordinating Committee. It's made up of NICH, of the library, the Embassy of Cuba, University of Belize has joined us this year. In the past, we've had the library at UBAD. And so what we are trying to do, it's a showcase that we have to show the films for free. It should not have these filmmakers, when they agree to send their films, it cannot be for profit.
What is the goal? Is it, I mean, independent filmmaking is a noble venture for many people, because you got to get funding to get your movies, you got to get eyes to watch it. But what is the goal when a filmmaker decides to enter or to put their own film in the showcase?
Well, we're all going for the very noble goal of trying to show our films to each other. As I know I got kind of sidetracked a bit, but basically they reached out to about 20 countries, Belize included, and asked us to send a few films from our country. And so we all sent it off to Cuba. There was a selection committee made up of about 5 people, and they reviewed them and chose a collection, a showcase of what Caribbean film is. And that set of films then got subtitled into all 4 languages, and then were resent out to each of the committees. And our job is to showcase it in each of our countries to make sure that the films get exposure.
What were they looking for in the selection process?
Mainly films that reflect our Caribbean identity, our diversity. And the fact that we could see someone, we're sitting here and we're seeing someone in Martinique that we think we don't have anything in common with because of the language, and then they have the whole French connection and we're the English connection, and sometimes we get bogged right down with language. And I realize that they're going through the same thing. We still have to deal with mosquito. We still have to deal with
Yeah.
heat. We still have sugar cane.
Similar housing, houses,
exactly.
yeah.
Brick.
We're dealing with all that stuff,
Yeah.
as well as the beautiful sun at the beach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I like numbers. I'm just trying to figure out what is the landscape of the industry for the Caribbean in terms of about how many films are we producing in this region on a whole, and can you give me a breakdown of on the high end, for example, I don't know if it's Cuba creating 1,000 movies a year as opposed to the lower end, which is maybe somewhere else, like somewhere else we're doing 2. What is the numerical landscape of production?
Okay, I didn't come with exact statistics, so you'll have,
idea.
But
you'll have
anecdotally, you know.
you'll have to depend on me. Traditionally, the Spanish-speaking countries of the Caribbean have larger populations and larger industries. So, for instance, Cuba definitely produces more films than we have, and there's a higher consumption. They've got lots of cinemas. There is a big cinema-loving audience there. Their numbers have gone down. It used to be like, I think, 20 a year, and it's probably down to about 8 or 5 now. Wow. Because of the budgets, because of all the, you know, they have the equipment, but they look for partners who can put in the cash. So you'll see most of the Cuban films will be co-productions. Very few are completely done by Cuba. Dominican Republic is starting to pick up. They have invested a lot in film infrastructure, in film festival, in the film commission. And they have, you know, people in the millions. Unlike us, we're struggling.
So they're
to
less than 20 or
And
around
where
20?
They are starting to put out a quite a fair amount of, I would say, the amounts are about 10 to 20, and they also have very active film associations. But let's look at the English-speaking Caribbean. Jamaica has always had a film industry. I wouldn't say they had huge amounts of support from the government, but they have had a steady support through JAMPRO and through their commission, and they're starting to do projects that will that will help support the development of the industry. So I would say in the past year, maybe like at least 1 a year or 2 a year has been coming out of Jamaica, and at a high level.
And Belize, where do
Bringing
we
it home to Belize, yeah.
Well,
Where are we?
Well,
in the middle?
it's exciting. We're actually working on legislation that would support the development of the film industry.
wow.
So we have to start doing our stakeholder consultations. It took us a long time to get the approval to go.
Let me just understand though, what type of legislation is necessary?
It's more of encouragement
Okay.
legislation that would establish things like the existence of a film commission, the existence of a film association from the private sector. We would have to look at
Tax incentives?
tax incentives, definitely, but
Yeah.
for both, not just for the international productions that want to come, but also for production companies that want to move off the ground. We would have to connect to all the other laws that exist, the Broadcasting Act, you know, so that you guys can put more Belize stuff on, more local stuff on.
Exactly.
We've got to connect to the copyright legislations to make sure that we're in line with everything. We've got to work out agreements with all the different agencies that work with film. For instance, at the Film Commission Office, we work regularly with customs, with immigration, with the Ministry of Finance. We work with civil aviation, all those drones that are coming in. It's a lot that we do, and it's not really, what we have to work on is getting it firmly in the law so that it doesn't change because you left your job.
Let's not lose the opportunity to talk more about the showcase though, because that is exciting news, and we really hope you come back and share more about it. The traveling showcase, you said there was a submission made by all countries, 20 different countries, and there was a selection made. There's one Belizean film included.
There's one film from Belize, and I'm going to say from Belize.
From Belize.
Because it's actually, it's called Fight the Lionfish Invasion. It was done in about 2012, was it? It's actually, it's an environmental piece, a 7-minute report from a German filmmaker who was here and who got fascinated with, and she put it on German TV. And it's just what we were doing about our lionfish invasion. I remember it's a
docu-film.
And so I think they selected it mainly because it's a problem that affects the whole Caribbean.
Yes.
So they look for films that impact the region. And as with many projects, you know, as each year they ask, we had more in the past, but each year they ask for new ones. And that's one of the things that we're hoping to stimulate with this legislation, and also with the other things that we're trying to work on at the Film and Media Arts Unit at NICH. We have other festivals, other competitions, other screenings, screening opportunities.
I'll be curious. I've been looking at some beautiful pieces from Belize, only in Belize. Aren't those films, and wouldn't those qualify? I'm just asking.
You see,
those are
they're
amazing
films,
pieces.
and I think right now
The
those might because they're not they're not obvious advertising.
Yeah.
Normally the commercial stuff is not considered a film, but you're right, there's great camera work.
Yes.
We have a lot of
Storytelling.
excellent writers and directors here. Yeah, I'm unsure who's actually doing the Belican stuff. But it would classify.
Because we asked them when they were here.
But
They
it
had
would-
a production company come in, but it is true, and I think one of the beauties of it was it wasn't overt advertising, and they were deliberate in that.
Right.
So maybe we have
It would
some
be how
potential
you
there.
classify it.
Yeah.
Because we, like, for instance, this isn't done by a Belizean.
Yeah,
But so for this showcase, the classification of a country's film is any film that is done in the country.
So
and
what's it shot
talks
in
about
Belize?
the country's culture or region, right? Because it's promoting our stuff. So everybody can classify it. For that showcase, we went through lots of argument to come up with that classification.
I had assumed it was Caribbean filmmakers, but it's not Caribbean filmmakers. It's films
Caribbean
created
content.
in the
It's Caribbean
Caribbean.
filmmakers and Caribbean content.
Yeah.
And honestly, we started off like that. I
Yeah.
remember me and this guy from Curaçao, Norman De Palm, we were sitting there because we were in selection committee, and we're like, why is France from Haiti putting in all these films from Haitians all over the world? There's no films from Haiti, Haitians. And so we were, and Rigoberto was like, yes. We're like, hey, we thought we came to a meeting where Caribbean filmmakers could do this. And France is like, oh, you guys are horrible. We were forced to leave Haiti. We had no choice. You cannot just shun us because we were forced to leave. We want to make films. We're all still making films. So there was this back and forth, and you know, it's not a reality that we were used to. The fact that you had to leave a dictatorship or forced to for your life, and so there are all these pockets of diaspora, and so that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there's a lot of Caribbean out there that's still clinging to their
and
identity.
who still come home. We have a
Still
couple
come
filmmakers who come home and make their movies as well. I've seen that in the Belize Film Festival.
And they actually have the advantage of being more exposed to the to a tighter structure of filmmaking. And what we've discovered and what we would like them to do is we encourage them to come back and share their knowledge and bring back the brain.
Let's talk about the movies because we're running out of time. What's happening in the showcase, where we go. You already said free. I didn't forget that part.
Free. Yes, it has to be free. Okay, so the March 14th to 28th, the next 2 weeks, we open tonight at the Jaguar Auditorium in UB. We start at 7:15 in Damapan. The movie will be Forbidden Flight by Rigoberto Lopez, and that's going to be a Cuban film, but it's actually shot in Paris. It's about these travelers who meet.
Spoiler alert? Spoiler alert?
No, it's not going to be.
What else do you know?
Exactly, it's going to be romantic.
Yeah.
It's going to be intellectual.
So
Please don't come looking for guns and blazing saddles and all that good
sounds like
stuff.
one of my favorite movies.
So that's going to show, and so as part of our partnership with the library, starting Monday, the 18th until the 28th, we will be showing the entire slate of 15 films that we have from between 5 and 7 at the media room in the Leo Bradley Library.
Okay.
So just log out, mark off those 2 hours every day for the next 2 weeks and go check it out. We will be putting up the synopsis of all the films very shortly. We will also be showing select films at various libraries around the country, as well as reaching out to the houses of culture at NICH to show select films there as well as going to visit a few schools.
So what are
we're
the
still
must-see
finalizing this.
films from that list? You
Yeah.
have to give me the
all
scoop.
of
That's what
them.
you're here for.
It's all about exposure. It's all about seeing what's going there. There's 9 different countries that
Good try,
are
Lisa.
there.
But,
Suzette.
Suzette.
I keep on.
That's
Good-
all right.
Good try. But you're part of the selection committee, and so you have seen.
Not this year.
Not this year? But you have
No.
seen the movies.
I've
already,
seen
the-
most
the
of
films.
them. I've seen most of them.
What is the most compelling story for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I watched Forbidden Flights, and I was drawn into it. I wasn't sure what to expect. When
Is it mushy romantic? Is it thought-provoking romantic? Little
It's
edgy?
conversations about identity. I mean, basically, the girl is, her mother is French, her father is Cuban, and she had never met him. Her mom had gone as a tourist and went back home, and so after her mom passed away, this is when she wants to go look for her father, and then she ends up at the airport where there's this Cuban guy going home, and the flight's canceled. And they speak and talk the whole night, and it's one
Sounds
of
like
those.
Before Sunset. Yeah.
It's probably something close to that.
Yeah.
So it's in the conversations, in the identity, and why would you want to go back? Do you really want to go meet your father? It's that, and that stuff is difficult to bring across in film, but it was compelling.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Neil, have you seen them?
Oh, no,
No,
I
you
have
didn't
not.
get away.
he plans to see every single one of them
Yes, I do.
between 5 and 7 at the Library Library.
Typically late, so 5:10 until 7.
Okay.
But
You
there
know-
is, there's one called The Price of Memory from Jamaica, I believe, from by Karen Mafundikwa. She's from Jamaica, The Price of Memory. So there's some that talk about memories, some that speak to the slavery
Yeah.
issues. There is one about Rogelio Martinez Fure, a Cuban
Yeah.
griot, who actually talks about Cuban dance. So there's 4 feature films
Yeah.
that are fiction, and the rest are all documentaries.
Are there any that are good for children or families?
There's the bicycle stories, Rolling
Okay.
in Havana, with the documentaries.
okay.
So that it's like 30 minutes, but it talks about all the bicycle, and people talk about their fascination with bicycle, and how, even if I had a car, I would prefer the bike because I feel the wind in my face.
Oh, wow.
I mean, maybe we could encourage some. The price, I guess, just went up.
You're introducing all other little topics here that we can get
so we
into,
could
but-
just get on bikes, everybody.
All right, so 5 to 7, starting next week in Belize
Next week,
City.
Monday at the Library
In Belize
Library.
City, but tonight-
Tonight it's at the UB Auditorium, so Jaguar Auditorium in Bamapan. So if you can make it, please join us. We will have a light snack after the film.
Oh.
Can I ask these questions? And we just came out of the American awards, and it was a very interesting movie, the black and white. I think it was Roma was the name.
Roma.
Yeah.
The Mexican.
Which was a Mexican film, and it was excruciating to watch. Yes.
Why?
Well,
Black and white turns you off?
no.
You don't like
I
subtitles?
love black and white. The script was just. It was excruciating. It
For you.
yes, it was
Exquisitely excruciating,
was-
or
it was-
painfully excruciating?
it was different in terms of. I remember one scene when she was sweeping out the dog dung from the air, and they made a lot of focus and moment
You
out
mean the
of it.
opening scene?
Just the opening.
That's
You
it.
didn't get
That's
the
as far as he
movie.
reached.
No. But my point was that it was telling a story, a
Right.
real
Yeah.
story of the culture that was there, and making some political commentary as well. I wanted to bring it home to us
It's on
here in
Netflix.
Belize. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's home.
And I wanted to bring the question home in terms of, am I right in saying that maybe what would help the production of local filmmakers and local content of things here in Belize and features might be the bolstering of underlying industries and activities, for example, the theater company. Like we're just not seeing. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but is it that we need more to encourage some of the creative arts in terms of just plays and just productive work in that way? And maybe if we did that, then we'll have more entrants. Maybe we'll get up to 8 or 10. Because a 7-minute docu-film, it's a lot of work, yes, but it's not as involved as maybe a feature-length film of maybe 2 hours. And we've seen where in Belize, a few years ago we saw a move forward. We saw the No Matter What's and you know, those kind of productions. Is it that we need to kind of inject it more, or we're going a different direction?
Well, that's what we're hoping to do, inject it more with legislation, encouragement, incentives. Sorry to jump in.
This is my best interview ever so far. Inside joke.
Before I go deep into that, I just got a few other things to quickly mention.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Before you throw me off the air.
Yes.
There are people making films that we might not know about.
Yes.
Young people.
Yes.
With their phones.
Yeah.
Yes.
The digital age has brought it.
Yes.
So actually this year the CARIFESTA is going to take place in Trinidad and Tobago in August. And the 17th to 23rd of August. It's already 2 years.
Okay.
And so they've joined, the film section has joined forces with the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. So instead of doing their traditional September festival, they shifted it to August to match. And so they have a call out. The Film and Media Arts Unit at NICH is coordinating it. And they've asked us to come up with at least 5 films from Belize, if possible, to forward to them. It's not guaranteed that they go in, but we need to send out a call.
They have to be mobile?
No.
Oh,
what
okay.
sense?
You were
They
talking
can
about
just be-
using phones.
No,
It's the-
films.
Okay, films in
You
general,
just
yeah.
send me your
Okay.
link. Everything is.
When is the
Everything
deadline
is.
for
The
submission?
deadline for that would be mid-April, April 15th. We're looking for a classic film that we can find, but but because it's a film festival like the Belize International Film Festival, it does require fresh material.
Yeah.
But the films have to pretty much be on the Caribbean culture, the theme, because it's the CARIFESTA where we showcase each other cultures. So if there's a documentary, and I would think even news features could also be considered mini documentaries.
And we have some documentaries too.
On cultural activities, whether even the carnival. I know people have done stuff on carnival or a little, or there've been some from Trinidad that's done documentary on Peter Mass, who's been like this costume designer and different, that's fantastic, that goes into detail. But it can be the music. It could probably be the segment from Belizeans with Sam Harris.
I was thinking of that,
different things. I mean,
so it's shorts and full feature.
it's shorts, full feature, animation if there is. We just, the shorts, it can be shorts, animation, documentaries, feature-length narrative films, and then one classic film. And the classic film, I'm just going to double check with Three Kings, but that would probably be our classic. Or perhaps Curse of the Ishtabai, which is our first horror film. I'm not sure it played there yet. As long as it hasn't played yet in Trinidad, it should be fine. And we also have the call open for the Belize International Film Festival. We're starting next week as well. The deadline for submissions would be the end of May. So we need to get going on that.
So that was a whole lot to get in. So we got a deadline of April 15th for the Trinidad Festival for CARIFESTA.
And I'm going to automatically drop them into submissions for the film festival.
All right. And film festival submissions are also accepted at this time too for the Belize Film Festival. And tonight you go to the Jaguar Auditorium for the opening of the Traveling Caribbean Film Showcase.
That's right.
What else am I missing? Neil, this is where you come in.
That's it.
So precise.
That's
Starting
it.
Monday. What starts on what?
Starting Monday, we'll be having different showings of films in the Traveling Caribbean Showcase. You have me speaking for this one. You got me. And it'll be at the Leo Bradley Library starting at 5 o'clock every evening, every Monday to Friday. We'll be showing different films for everyone to come and be a part and enjoy, to see what's happening throughout the Caribbean through the lens of different cameras.
And it's free.
Yes.
And if let's say somebody just tuned in or missed all the details, is there somewhere a Facebook page that they can go and look at the schedules and other synopsis, etc.?
Yeah,
And
ICA. The NICH Belize, and then you just look at the different departments. You have home departments, under departments, you then have ICA, and it'll be right there.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in and letting us know what's happening.
You know I have more to say, right?
I'm sure
you
you
wanted
do,
to ask
but
me about
we
animation and I died.
welcome you back another time.
I did.
But we actually have
again.
another film to talk about. That's interesting too. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about Beauty Bites Beast, a film that will be playing in Belize. This is one I'm looking forward to. Please stay tuned.